Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Will the Flare Network's Spark token replace XRP and the way that XRP is being positioned as a bridge currency for global payments? Well, that's what's being discussed here within the XRP community, and it's been clear to me, made very clear to me after reading through the full thread here. I think I read most of what splinters off on Twitter here. It seems clear to me that there are a certain percentage of people that think there is something to this, and I firmly disagree. So I'm going to run through this and share my opinion. And also, I want to give you guys a heads up, so please stick around for the later half of this video too. There are additional scam warnings. If you go to claim your Spark tokens, which are free for XRP holders, that is legitimate, just be super careful because you could end up losing all of your XRP if you fall victim to a scam, and Flare Networks has issued a couple new warnings. But before we go any further, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you would please ever so delicately tap the like button, I would definitely appreciate the support. And also, if you are a fan of Ripple and XRP, you done came to the right spot, son. Go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel. All right, so I'm not going to go through exactly what the Spark token is, this or that. I'm going to have to assume for the sake of this video that at this point you've become aware. If not, you might want to hit pause and just use the Webernets to Google, find out what it is a little bit more. But I will state that the Spark token is what Flare Networks is calling a utility fork of the XRP ledger, and it's designed to bring smart contract capabilities to XRP effectively. In a nutshell, that's what it is, and every XRP holder, for every XRP that you hold, you are entitled to claim at least one free Spark token for every XRP that you have. And so Mikey XRP tagged me, along with my fellow XRP YouTubers, the Digital Asset Investor and Crypto Eddie. And so Mikey XRP, thank you very much for tagging me and bringing this up for conversation. I do genuinely appreciate this. And I love diversity of thought. I really genuinely mean that. And I'm going to share my honest opinion as well. So I want to be clear that, because I know this to be a fact of life. I'm 37 years old. This happens all the time. When people have an idea about something and then they hear a counterpoint, it's by nature, many humans will feel like they're being attacked. That is not what I'm doing. I'm going to share with you my point of view, which is different than Mikey's concerns. And really, to be fair, I mean, he's just asking questions here. So I don't know to what degree he believes this. Nothing against him. I don't think like, if there's any concerns, period, like, always bring them up. That's fine in my book. I just want to be clear, like, there's no intent to attack here. I just genuinely think it's silly to believe what I'm about to cover here. So Mikey XRP wrote, what happens if Spark is a replacement for XRP? This removes Jed's stash. He wrote Jeb. He means Jed McCaleb, though, with a D. Jed stash. Also, it gets around the issue of XRP being a security. As we move to a new token, XRP will fade away to be replaced by XRPF. And I think isn't it FXRP? Maybe I'm mistaken. I thought the F was in front. I could be wrong. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I know what he's talking about regardless. But XRP will fade away to be replaced with XRPF, is what he wrote, with a new name not connected to Ripple. All right. So let's go ahead and break this down. And certainly as far as Jed's stash, so pulling from memory here, I think he still has maybe several billion or so XRP remaining, but I don't believe that he's actually in possession of all of them. There's a court agreement that puts a limit on how frequently and how much Jed can sell his XRP holdings, and so I believe at this point it's actually being doled out by Ripple at this point anyway. And so Jed actually, as announced by Flare Networks, they said that Jed is not entitled to be to receive any free Spark tokens, period, and they pointed out that he doesn't seem to be an individual that is supportive of the XRP ecosystem specifically. Perfectly reasonable to me, and if you're the ones creating the token, it's your asset, you own it, you can decide who to give it to. I see no problem with that whatsoever. And as far as it being a security, well, consider this. There is no federal government on this planet that I'm aware of that is making the case that XRP is a security. So from my perspective, it's already a non-issue. Even the court issue where there are individuals making that claim, that's not the government. They're just claims against Ripple selling a security, which is different than the federal government of the United States coming down on them. Very different. Those are bogus claims, and we'll see them getting tossed out sooner than later, I certainly suspect. And so to the contrary, as far as federal governments around the world are concerned, if anything, just take a look at what's happened in the UK. The Financial Conduct Authority over there has stated that XRP is a utility coin. And so I think you're going to see more classifications along that line as time passes. So as far as the security thing, like to me, it's just a bogus issue that primarily trolls bring up. And I'm not saying that Mikey's a troll for bringing that up, just to be clear. I'm just saying that's mostly where I see it. I see it from that, and then people that maybe are newer to the space and they are legitimately looking for answers. Because there's a point where, like, I didn't know. I was asking all sorts of questions where you could have taken my early days of crypto Moon Lambo asking questions as, why is he asking this stuff? He sounds kind of trolly. Well, no, I was actually just trying to get the truth. I want to know. I was like, okay, but is there a chance this could be a security? So I asked questions along those lines, all sorts of stuff. Because I was trying to test the ideas behind the concept of XRP being positioned as a bridge currency. So perfectly reasonable if you're new to the space, asking all sorts of stuff that the rest of it that have been around for years, we already know. Obviously, there's no way it's a security. Like I could not imagine that actually being classified as security, especially in the United States. But anyway, so as far as XRP fading away, being replaced by the Spark token with a new name not connected to Ripple, I would encourage you to think through that a little bit further and what that would potentially look like, because I can tell you this. It's about a 99.99999%, like repeat that 9 to the end of infinity percentage that it's not going to happen. Because you got to think about this. Why would it be the Spark token? Why not any other cryptocurrency? Why would it have to be this just because it's a utility fork of XRP? Because to be clear here, like, it's a completely separate coin, nothing to do with Ripple whatsoever. And so there's no reason to think that this specifically on its own would be positioned as a bridge currency. Let's take a step further. If XRP, this Spark token, were going to be positioned as a bridge currency, which is what Ripple is doing in positioning XRP as a bridge currency, who's going to build out the software? Like, what's the company that's going to do this? Because understand that Flare Networks, that's not a business. There's a not-for-profit entity around it, which actually can be dismantled by the Spark holders. I'm not going to get into that any further in this video, but that's the case. There is no business around it. So who's going to build, if the Spark token is going to replace it, who's going to build out the messaging system, which for the version that Ripple runs of that would be called RippleNet. And then Swift has Swift GPI, which is more or less an equivalent of that. Not exactly the same, but just for comparative purposes, it's okay to say it's effectively the same thing. So who's going to build that? Who's going to build the messaging portion for Flare Networks? If Flare Networks is actually coming in to supplant Ripple, who's going to do that? And then who's going to build out the liquidity for Spark, which, by the way, is worth $0 at times of the recording. So who's going to get it put on exchanges? Who's going to build out markets? Who's going to build the relationships? Who's going to partner up with over 40 central banks around the world? Because Ripple has done that. They're working with them. They've publicly announced that in varying degrees. It doesn't mean that they're they're all utilizing RippleNet software. I'm not saying that, but they're working with them and communicating. They're working on regulatory clarity, all this and that. And so who's going to build out that? Who's going to build out the software? Because understand that on-demand liquidity, it's an efficient path-seeking algorithm created by Ripple staff to move XRP automatically, because you don't want brains to have to manually do this. That would not be efficient. So who's going to build that out? And then when there are inevitably some problems with flows and customer questions, this or that, who's going to be the company that, on-demand liquidity customers like remittance companies and banks, who's going to be the company that they can turn to ask questions if there's problems? Is that going to be Flare Networks? Are they going to build out the staff? Are they going to have hundreds of employees taking care of this just like Ripple's doing? So it's kind of silly. You can see why when you break it down like that, it's not reasonable whatsoever to think that it would be positioned like that. Because you're starting from scratch. And why would it just happen to be this quote unquote, it's utility fork of the XRP ledger that would do it? There is no plan whatsoever for this to happen. Period. And so to me, it's just kind of silly to think that there's any opportunity for that to occur. And so I'm happy to share my opinion on that, but if there are concerns around that, and again, they're going through this thread, there were multiple people that thought, yeah, that might be what they're doing, and I'm just thinking, where's this coming from? Now, if you're new to the space, like I said, perfectly fine to ask these questions. It's fine, because as long as you're just trying to get to the truth, no problem. And I'm glad that I was tagged here so I could shed a little bit of light on this, but it's not a rational thought process. I mean, once you get the facts, like if you just haven't finished thinking through it and you hear why it doesn't make sense, okay. And then Mikey XRP had another tweet here. He wrote, which would have more value? If both are on XRP ledger and one has smart contracts, less volume and not subject to JED dumps, and could be used in the exact same way to service on-demand liquidity. So let's break that down. Which would have more value? Well, I depends on what you mean by that, because I differentiate between value and price. Value has to do with real world utility, and if there's value around something, then there should be a price to support that value. In the case of XRP, there's actual utility, and there's an open market price, which in my opinion there should always be, as long as there's genuine utility right there. Now the Spark token, you wrote that if both are on the XRP ledger, but that's not the case. Spark token is not on the XRP ledger. The Spark token is a utility fork of the XRP ledger. It's its own separate cryptocurrency, just to be super duper clear. And so what one does have different capability, like, yeah, absolutely, that other blockchain, different capabilities. Got it. And they wrote less volume. Well, less volume is actually not desirable. You want greater volume, greater liquidity, and ideally higher price also. So when you wrote less volume, that's actually a hindrance to the adoption of any cryptocurrency as a bridge currency. So that's not good. And then as far as the JED dumping, I don't want to go into great detail on this, but it's a fraction of a percent on a daily basis in terms of XRP volume. It's not enough to suppress the price. It's not a problem. And if you think it's a problem, then tell me this, because JED's been dumping for years, just like Ripple's been quote unquote dumping for years. How is it that XRP went from 20-something cents to almost $4 while JED was quote unquote dumping and Ripple was dumping? How did XRP do that? Well, it's because there wasn't sufficient volume to affect the price in any sort of material way. The price of XRP is low not because of quote unquote dumping. It's just simple supply and demand. That's it. There was a bull run, things went parabolic, it was crazy, and then there was a major retracement as the frenzy died down. And so as far as it being used in the exact same way to service on-demand liquidity, well, on-demand liquidity is Ripple software, so you can't just if you're an outsider, if you're Flare Networks, you can't just put your coin on on-demand liquidity. That's Ripple software. That's not how that works. Ripple would have to choose to add other cryptocurrencies, and I doubt they'll ever do that because they want to use XRP. Why? Because they own a ton of it, and it's really good at moving money around the planet. So there you go. Yeah, but you could use any cryptocurrency. Like you could use Bitcoin as a bridge currency. It just wouldn't be a great use case for Bitcoin because Bitcoin is slow and it's not cost effective and it's energy intensive. But you could use any cryptocurrency for the use case. It just comes down to how good of a solution is it for that. So to think that for some reason Spark would come out just because it happens to be a utility for completely nonsensical. It's a big nothing, and it absolutely is not happening. All right, and then we've got this from Flare Networks. Beware of scammers. Claiming Spark does not require you to send XRP to anyone. Never give anyone your private key or your seed phrase. I want to be super clear on that. When you go to claim your Spark tokens, if you choose to, do not type in your private key. Do not type in your seed phrase. And so the seed phrase, like if, for instance, if you have a Ledger Nano S, that 24-word code, I'm sure you're familiar with it if you've gone through that process. Don't give that to anybody. Don't type it in anywhere. Don't say it to anybody. Keep that completely private. All right? You will lose your XRP. It's about 100% certainty if you give that out to anybody. And so you can see here's a tweet from XRP Forensics. Scammers are imitating Wietse tool to help claim Flare Network Spark tokens. The real tool will never ask you to send XRP to a new address. Never trust any tools, airdrops, giveaway that ask you to send money or enter secret keys of any kind. Right. And so receiving address is one thing. That's already public on the ledger. I'm not talking about the receiving address. I'm talking about your private keys and the seed phrase. And Flare Networks retweeted that from XRP Forensics and wrote in all capital letters, beware. So please, please, please be diligent out there. I'm going to, in every video where I talk about Spark and Flare Networks, I'm going to do my best to remember, and I've done a good job of it so far. I'm going to do my best to remember to just point this out, at least briefly, because there's always new people subscribing to my channel, learning about all this, entering the world of crypto. I hate seeing people get scammed. There's something that just, it's painful to even read about it on the Twitter. So I'm going to try and do what I can with the little platform I got here to try and spread the word, and hopefully it'll prevent somebody from getting scammed. But we'll go ahead and leave it there. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!